What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Dorm Debate Podcast. Now, you may notice something's a little different. And if you don't notice anything, you need to get your eyes checked. Because we're all here in the same room
We're
in
not on
real
Zoom
life.
right now?
We are not on Zoom.
Yeah.
This is a first time in Dorm Debate history.
Well,
In a long time.
Other than like our
I mean,
first season.
With cameras. The first podcast,
With
we're
cameras,
all huddled
yes.
around.
So fair
Yeah.
play, if you only listen on the audio, you won't know. the
Yeah,
difference.
you don't notice
Unless
anything.
You really messed up here, so
Yeah.
hopefully not.
I actually didn't think about that. There's no difference at all.
They're going to be in the car like, Jared, what do you...
Yeah,
Why
they're
did
like-
Nothing's
You call me dumb and I'm just...
audio sounds
Open
just
your-
as good.
Open your eyes while you're listening to this.
Well, head over to the YouTube and subscribe and then watch it.
Yeah.
So we're here in East Rutherford, New Jersey. We're going to the Giants-Cowboys game. So currently it's week 15. We're probably going to post this way after week 15. And this is a special episode. It's not our normal episode where we talk NFL. We're going to be talking about how we all met back in college and how Dorm Debate was formed. Like, how did it even start? You know, so we're just going to talk about that, reminisce on our old college days. I feel so old calling myself like an alumni.
That's crazy.
Let's go chronologically.
Right.
We had Caleb and Jonathan were roommates, right? So I guess one of you two can kind of start on
I'm Caleb.
on the first. Oh yeah, so we have Caleb, John,
yeah.
and Jonathan.
Yes.
So start off with like how you guys got matched as roommates first off.
Yeah, well, it was a random assignment thing through
Like a portal.
through their portal. You know, if you've ever applied to college, and roommates were something I was really nervous about.
Yeah.
My first impression of you was the letters of JXE. Just your
Why did that intrigue you?
when you're in high school, you're like, who's this guy? Like, why is his middle name X? You know, so you didn't
Oh.
enter in a middle name.
Yeah, I don't know.
I didn't either. Yeah, because mine was CK.
Wait, but you have a middle name.
I do,
Do
but
you?
on the whatever
Yeah, I do.
form RIT took when
You
you
just
apply-
didn't want to put it in?
Yeah, I just did that.
No, when you applied to RIT, just like kind of casually, that you put in your name, and if you just didn't choose to put your middle name,
Put it
Oh,
extra.
it wasn't
they
required.
just didn't put. They
Yeah.
used
Yeah.
that
Oh,
intro
wow.
for their for their email that we used for 4 years.
So
I
you were
s-
scared that he had an X in there?
I
Like,
was
this
just
guy
like-
might be crazy.
like, what kind of guy? Like, what kind of name is an X start with? You know?
Xavier.
Yeah. And after that, I think we had chatted, and I did stalk your social media because, like, scout out your
Yeah.
roommate. I know it was gonna be okay. After the first night, I was like, okay, I didn't wake up murdered. Like he was. But it was
So
hard.
did you guys message though?
We did message, but I don't think we ever called. Did we call?
I don't think so. I think it was all
Just
message.
talk. And
Yeah, I
what
think-
did you think of him?
I thought it was a. Oh, you
You
said
think this guy,
message?
he seems
Because like
pretty
your
chill.
social media, you don't have a lot. You didn't have a lot on your Instagram or Facebook. 'Cause
Yeah,
we
I
did
don't.
friend each other and add each other. But like I know I probably have more at the time, but I think you didn't have that many posts. So I was like, okay, this is not much to go on.
Okay, I don't know much
Kinda
about him.
sketch.
Yes.
That X is creeping me
Yeah,
out.
X, not a lot of posts. I mean, what did you think? You can be
Yeah, I
honest.
thought you were a pretty nice guy, pretty cool guy. I was just looking for somebody that wasn't a junkie or anybody
Yeah.
that didn't party hard. I was like,
I am
think-
none
I
of
think-
those.
Yeah, I
but
don't think he
those
said he
were-
had, so I think this guy's decent.
Thank you.
And then we had orientation. So college, I think every college has like an orientation. You get put in like a random group of people. So me and Jonathan both got into the same orientation group. So I don't know
But
if
how did you guys first meet? Did you just get paired up against each other? or, like-
No. We were at lunch at Gracie's, which is like the dining hall there. And I don't know.
Was it
I was
random?
what?
Was it random, the orientation groups?
Yeah, they were
just
all random.
totally across different majors.
Yeah,
like,
like, literally
everything. Yeah.
just like random groups.
because you were in design or something before. You weren't in
Yeah,
business
I was in
school.
a totally different college.
Yeah,
than
me and
them,
Jonathan were also in the same business. We were in business together, so that was
Yeah.
also like a
which was good.
yeah.
And so I was like eating lunch, and I didn't conversate with like anybody in the group because I was
Yeah.
just like so nervous and like shy and stuff. And so then Jonathan said something about Michigan football or football, some sort of college football, and
Just perked up.
we just like started talking about it. So he initiated the conversation, and I was like, oh yeah, cool, whatever. And then like later that day, I think it was the same day or the next day, and I'm like, yo, you want to go play basketball or something? So I was like, hey, you could be good at basketball. I don't know.
Why'd you think
No
that?
stereotyping
Yeah.
there. So we go play basketball, and then I don't know what happened after that. Then we must have shared phone numbers, and we just went to lunch a couple times. We didn't see each other too often. Like we went and watched football.
Orientation week was only 1 week long.
Yeah.
So then
It was 1 week.
Did
yeah.
you see each other after that?
Yeah, then we went to Gracie's for lunch, used up the meal plan.
Uh-huh.
We watched football one time in my dorm.
College football. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but then like, not too much. Like it wasn't as often.
Right.
So, yeah, I guess
I remember
that's,
where I met you.
yeah,
and it ties
that
into
was
that.
later
Is that
on.
and then you
Later
guys?
Because that's how I don't remember whether, because you're tying into that, like how you guys, because I knew Jonathan, me and Jonathan, we spent a lot of time together. We had this, we were like, it was a dorm room, so it was literally like, you know, we had the upper deck thing and then the
Yeah.
desk underneath. We had
Right,
the
yeah.
I mean, in hindsight, it was probably smaller than this room that we're in right now.
Yeah.
But you know, it was good. But I know we'd eat it a lot together. But I also knew of like you'd hang out with some orientation friend,
Yeah.
and that's how I found out because we had gone to a movie thing, I think,
Yeah. That's right.
Right.
and that's where I met you.
So, yeah. So the timeline of like Jonathan and I meeting was orientation. Then you guys met as roommates.
Yeah. So that was first. and then you.
Then
guys.
I met Caleb because I was like, oh, like Jonathan, there's a movie thing that happens every Thursday.
What
and
movie
then-
was it? The
Revenant.
Revenant.
Yeah. So they
What,
show
on
like
campus?
they show
Yeah.
like some big movie.
It's actually
at
pretty
the-
great. I hope RIT still do that.
Yeah. At like one of the
Or
lecture halls,
I
they
guess
do
this
it.
one's on me.
They're like recent movies too. Like they're
Yeah.
not like old ones. So
Free.
I was like, oh, Jonathan, you want to come by? I was like, you can bring your roommate if you want. He's like, okay, sure. So we met and. I don't know, Caleb and I, we pretty hit off pretty good.
Yeah, I think we
started
were
talking
fast
about
friends.
like movies.
Yeah.
and
Exactly.
Yeah.
different stuff.
Yeah.
So we're
Jonathan was like,
okay,
"Oh
let's go."
no, this isn't how I expected it."
Jonathan's like, all right, you're
Yeah.
his friend now. I'm leaving.
We actually left Jonathan there. And we no, but we were fast friends. I do remember because we
Yeah.
were talking about we just loved movies, you know.
Mhm.
But I think Jonathan brought me with. That's how I got to know Jared. Is that you invited me along?
And that was before like the roommate thing happened for the next year, but I'm
Yeah.
kind of getting ahead of myself. So that's how I met you.
Yeah.
So that was 3 people. Then John
Well-
is a little confusing.
Well, the first thing that happened, I met Caleb before you.
Yeah.
Because I
Correct.
just remember because I was playing intramural soccer. I started an intramural soccer team.
Mhm.
And my roommate liked soccer. His name was Elliot. And I'm like, Elliot, do you know any other players? Because, like, if I'm going to start a team, you know you need, like, 10 guys or something.
Mhm.
So Elliot's like, oh, I know this guy Caleb. And how did you know Elliot?
I met him at
In
a,
some
at a
class?
club thing
A
actually.
club?
Yeah, like one of those. Part of the orientation week was like checking out different clubs on campus.
Uh-huh.
Oh, the club fair.
Yeah.
The club
I
fair.
think it was like in or something, but
Mhm.
I just started talking to him, and he like come up with soccer, and I was
Right.
like, "Hey, I'm trying to." I was training really hard, and I wanted a team, so
Right.
that was you're right. Like Elliot invited me onto your guys'
Right.
intramural.
Yeah,
and
because I was like, Elliot, we need guys. And he's like, oh,
Yeah.
I know this guy Caleb. So then we played, I think we played like 2 games, 3 games or something, and we hit it off pretty good. We were
Yeah.
talking about whatever, I don't know, soccer. Actually,
we
so then
got
the
to eat
one
or
time
twice, yeah,
you asked me to go to the church.
yeah, that's
with you.
right. Me and Jonathan would go.
and
That's how you met
that's how I met Jonathan.
That's
Because Caleb was
right.
like, oh, I'm going to church. And we somehow talked about that, and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
sure, I'll go.
Yeah,
So then one day you picked me up from my dorm, and you're in the car,
Yeah.
but you're in the back seat. I'm like, what? I'm like, so Caleb's like, oh, I'm bringing my roommate. I'm like, okay. So I get close to the car. I'm like, I'll go to the back seat, and I open the door, and Jonathan's there, just like this, and I'm like, and Caleb's like, oh, you could come in the front. I'm like, okay.
no verse.
So I sit in the front, and I'm like, oh, hey, and you're like, hi, and then that's all I heard was hi the whole time. When we were driving there, it was just Caleb and I talking, and then at the church, and then on the way back, I didn't hear you talk. I just heard hi. Yeah.
You were very shy, I recall, because you didn't know John, you know, and I brought him on. But
Yeah.
I do remember you sitting in the back of the car, just kind of like, just in the shadows, just observing.
In the shadows.
You like to be reserved and like let other people, I guess, talk when you first meet them, right? Like,
Yeah, like to
just
study the
like
person.
yeah, observe them and see. But anyway, so then I met Jonathan, and then as all that was happening, Jared and I were in the same class. So I know that sounds like weird, but so we were in. There's this year 1 class that RIT does where everybody has to go in this class for what the first 6 or
First 6 weeks.
6
it's
weeks.
once a week.
once a week for the first 6 weeks of your freshman semester, first semester. And the first couple weeks, we didn't even know each other or anything.
No. So I remember sitting next to you, and you know, this is just an ongoing joke, but I remember him wearing a giant, big, like Giants jersey, like New York Giants
Jacket.
coat. Yeah,
Yeah,
like
coat.
a winter coat, and it was like blue and,
And
red,
puffy and big.
puffy. And I'm like, okay, sports. Like, I'll sit next to this guy. So I sat next to him, but turns out you don't own anything of the
Yeah,
sort.
and yeah, after like a year later, it came out, and I'm like, I don't own any Giants jacket. What are you talking about?
I swear I remember it. So that's why I sat next to you. And
So you sat next to him because he was wearing something that later we
Like
found
some
out
sports.
you never.
yeah,
Yeah.
Oh.
So his mind was just
This was a
seeing
figment-
something.
Yeah, just this is a figment of your imagination.
He was
Yeah.
supposed to
You do
meet
have a
me, so
Giants
his
hat,
mind
though.
like tricked it.
you
to
do have a Giants hat though, right?
Yeah, I did have a Giants hat.
Yeah, I do.
Maybe it
remember
was the
that, too.
hat.
Maybe you're maybe you're applying, deja vu or something.
I don't know.
That's funny that
But
you just wanted, you saw what you wanted to see.
I guess I just really remember it. But so either way, I was like, oh, there's Giants. So I sit next to him and like we may have said like a couple words. Like, I
if
don't
something
even know.
if something happened in the class, we would like
That's-
look over and be like,
This class is shit.
Yeah,
you
we,
know?
like
I
literally
hate this
5
class.
words each class we would say. But I remember you saying that you would always see me check my fantasy football because it was Tuesday
Right.
morning, and you guys know like on Tuesday the week resets, so you can see the standings and
Yeah.
everything, and put in for your waivers and stuff. So I would always open my waivers and check my team, and I remember you being like, "Oh, I remember this guy checking his fantasy football."
I do. 'Cause I don't think I did fantasy. The first year we did it
No.
was the next year, so I was totally new to it. So I was
Yeah.
just like, oh, that's interesting.
You liked college too at the time.
Yeah, I was
more
way
than
way
NFL.
more into college
Yeah.
before we met. So I didn't do any sort of fantasy.
Hmm.
But so I mean I couldn't even tell you like what your name was.
Oh,
at the time.
I didn't know what your name was.
So that's how
I
that
don't know
happened.
why. I think the reason we didn't talk more is because it was like a 9 a.m. class, so we were both like tired. and
Maybe.
we were
Yeah.
like, didn't
No
really
one
want-
wanted to be
Yeah, we
there.
were just like,
It
let's
was
go
year
home.
one, you guys said.
Yeah, it was like
For-
a 50-minute class. We're
Yeah.
like, let's just get out of here.
For those
Yeah.
who don't know what year one was, and you guys can refresh me on it, but it was like the introductory class that like any major had. So you're around people that you weren't really gonna brush shoulders with,
Right.
Right.
unless you had.
It's just like orientation.
It's like
But it's a
Yeah,
class.
and it's
Yeah.
like
So
half.
they're like, this is where the student center is.
Oh,
This
Yeah.
is where this
You can change your major anytime you want. Fill out this, like all this
Bro,
random stuff.
our student
Yeah, that's what I
teacher-
remember.
Our student teacher was a 5th-year senior, changed her major 5 times.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I'm like,
I
don't wanna
remember
be
that
like you.
presentation. We looked over at each other that
Yeah.
presentation. We're like, what's this girl doing?
She does nothing.
Come on,
Alright.
figure your life out.
Probably a CEO now,
Yeah, she might
millionaire.
be
Yeah.
a CEO. I don't even know. We met, but we didn't formally
Yeah,
know
and-
each other.
But once the class ended after that 6 weeks, we didn't talk. That was
Nope,
it. We didn't
talk.
see each other.
So then
it
I
was like,
I had no clue who you were at all, and don't remember. And
It's so funny.
then around November, so in college, the first semester, right towards the end of it, that's when you have to pick who you want to live with for the next year.
yeah.
It's crazy.
So I'm like, dude, I made no friends. And my current roommate was Nate, who was in our fantasy league. He was moving out, so he moved out to live with one of his friends.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, crap, I don't have anyone to live with. So only guy I know, Jonathan. So I text Jonathan. I'm like, hey, like, do you need like a third? And he's like, actually, we need a fourth. I was like, oh,
Wait, so
Okay.
meaning they needed 2 more?
yeah.
Okay.
No. They needed one more person because they had already gotten you.
Oh. Because I
it was-
knew Elliot was going to go with somebody else.
Yeah.
So I reached out to you.
The way
Oh
I,
yeah. So your current roommate was also leaving.
Yeah, my
no,
current roommate
the
was...
way I remember it was, and it could be different, but
Yeah.
I know it was kind of a given. I really liked Jonathan, and we had a great roommate relationship. So I was like, because if
Were,
the,
were you thinking of leaving?
no,
You're
no.
thinking of
more like
Thinking of leaving?
no, bro, no, never. No, but it was like because it's so early. Part of a freshman concern, like a stress, was like, yo, what are we gonna live next year? Because it's like
Yeah.
by November you have to figure it out,
Yeah.
which is new to anyone from high school, So then it was like, because freshmen got first pick for the housing next year, we knew we needed 4 because the double was way too expensive,
Yeah.
and we wanted the 4 was a better deal and a better product,
Yeah.
So I think the way I remember, it could be wrong. I think I had already met you from the Revenant, and I was like, Jared could be a good third, and I was like, who could be a fourth?
Oh,
And this goes
John
into
was
how
the
I
fourth.
brought you.
Oh, so
into
did
the
you ask me?
Yeah, the way I
Oh.
remember it was I was at Gracie's eating, and then eating alone, and then
It was a rough freshman
I
year.
ate alone a lot that first year.
Yeah, me too.
It is part, it is
It's
a part,
part
of
of it.
It's
Part
part
of
of
it.
freshman years.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it is.
especially in high school, because you're like around people you grew up with, and then you go to a new place, and I feel like a lot of our personalities is like not. We're extroverts, but it's almost like applied, like like once you get to know us, we start to
Yeah,
open up.
exactly.
Yeah, especially for you guys because you're from Philly and Jonathan's from Texas.
Mhm.
So like you knew 0 people. I
Right.
knew. Luckily, I had paired with my friend Nate, who was my high school friend.
Yeah.
So like I knew him forever. So I was like, all right, at the very least, I have a roommate that I know.
Yeah.
for
And you knew
sure.
some other people like near.
Yeah, that from high school.
You
that
weren't
I would
far
know.
from home at least, so you had like you could go home.
Yeah,
for
I was
them,
about
so,
like an
yeah.
hour away.
Yeah.
So it was super close. I knew some people that were there, so it wasn't complete shock. But like for you guys, it was like completely different world, different weather for you,
I
Jonathan.
never even visited RIT before I came.
Yeah,
So,
why did you do that?
I don't know.
I don't know.
That-
Did you look at pictures and
Knowing
stuff
you
and
would
see how
sense.
ugly it was?
I looked at some pictures, but for all I know, it could have been a scam, and I was going to it.
You didn't think it was real till you got there?
Yeah.
Like knowing you, I could see that like happening, but it's just like funny. That's crazy. You know, I was able to visit, thankfully, but I'm also 4.5 hours away. You had to fly out,
Yeah.
but still brave of you to apply without ever
Didn't you
visiting.
just search like top MIS schools
Yeah,
in
like
the
top
country?
10 MIS programs in the nation.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, let's see. RIT, all right, I'll apply there. And I got in, and then we did some more research.
Did
And
the track thing too.
yeah, track.
Yeah.
I talked to the track coach. He seemed pretty nice. There was also a co-op program, right?
Mhm.
A
That's
1-year
big.
internship
It
or
is pretty
something.
good.
Mhm.
So I was like, all right, this will help me get into the workforce. So let's see.
Okay, so the
So,
reason
yeah.
is I was the third, so we're
I
like,
think
okay,
you were the
Jared's
third.
in, but we might get John.
So yeah, I was eating alone. Yeah, to bring it back. Sorry. So I was eating alone at Gracie's, and just kind of it was actually I think on my mind, really something that came up because I was like, man, we need a fourth. What are we gonna do? Because it's like such. If we didn't find a fourth that we knew, the system would assign us a
Yeah.
random, and it could be any guy, any girl, anything like that.
All right,
Like some stranger, you know?
Vast different people.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
you get random people, and it's you're-
Random of the random.
Yeah, you may get a weird.
It's a
person.
very interesting
I'm not
culture.
gonna lie. Yeah, interesting diversity.
It is very yeah. Well, so yeah, I was like, who's gonna be our fourth? And then I think I had met you. We played together a couple times in intramural, and you came up to me, and I think you were wearing your black like windbreak. It was like a rain water resistance. It was
Oh
something.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You actually have that.
Yeah, I do. I do actually do.
You do
because
only-
it says
yeah.
my last name on it.
Yeah, yeah, because from soccer.
Yeah.
Not to-
Oh, I know what it is. Yeah.
yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But like you came up to me and I was like, hey, you wanted to eat? And I was like, or I think you were leaving or something. But we ended up sitting together chatting. And I think we got around to like it came up that again, I didn't know you super well, but we played together. So we had
Right.
exchanged words and had a relationship in the sense of being on the team.
Right.
But I was like kind of off the cuff. I was like in that 20-minute conversation we had about what you were like growing up, what your ambitions were. I was like, this is a pretty cool guy. And I was like, hey, we need a fourth. I have to check it with the guys, but probably want to meet you, but I think this could be good. Like you looking for a roommate. And the conversation, I'm curious how you remember it, but to me it was like I brought you on and I was like, I think it just kind of took a gamble. I didn't know you that
Yeah.
well, but I was like, I think it'll be good. I think he's
Yeah.
normal.
From how I guess when I remember it, I don't know how I don't remember that conversation, but I know we talked, and I remember being like, all right, I'm like, okay, I know this guy Caleb, I know he's good, okay, and I'm like, okay, I met Jonathan, and since I trust Caleb, I'm like, okay, I don't think Jonathan's crazy if he still wants to live with him, but I'm like, Caleb, what are we, like, aren't we going to go into a place that's like 2 rooms, so like, if you and Jonathan are going to be together, who's this
Yeah,
guy
that
Jared?
was your
I'm like,
concern. That's right.
I'm like, this guy
That's
Jared,
right.
like, I kind of want to meet him before
And it's
I
a
like
fair
sign.
concern. Yeah, because you guys had no connection. Well,
Well, I know.
Okay.
At that point, I was like,
Yeah.
this guy Jared, I have no idea who he is.
that's right. You guys sat together but didn't even know the name.
Yeah,
for us
so I
to-
was like, can I meet him? Because if I'm
Yeah.
gonna live with him, like, I need to know if
yeah,
this guy's
that is
cool or
fair
not.
to be concerned about. Yeah.
Jared thought the same thing.
Did you
Yeah,
think the same
yeah.
thing?
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I was
He
like,
said-
cut to me talking to Jonathan. I'm like, who's Jonathan? Like, I don't know who this guy is. Jonathan.
Yeah.
I was like, don't worry, I'll inquire. I was like, so Caleb, look, Jared has concerns about this guy. John. I've seen
We're
him.
both
I've
like
seen-
on the same.
I was like, I've
page.
seen him, I met him and stuff, but like, honestly, like, I know he's your friend. Is he like a weird guy? Is he like a party? Because we don't want any trouble. Yeah, I don't want to.
I remember
I don't
looking
want
at
any
friend.
parties.
Yeah, Jared's my friend. I don't want to like make a promise and like I don't want him to be a bad roommate.
Yeah.
Is he a good guy? You know?
And what did he say?
He's like, oh yeah, John's nice. He's actually concerned about Jared.
And you guys are like, shit.
I forgot about that. You guys were both nervous, and me and Jonathan were like the bridge builders between.
I'm just trying to be
Yeah.
prepared. I
Well,
don't
like,
wanna-
yeah, it's a new roommate. It's like you're
Yeah.
going into university and having a new guy.
Right.
It's the second year, but same logic, So
Right.
that's funny knowing now, like how close we've all gotten, but you guys were like gun shy of the other. Like,
Yeah, because I remember I looked at your Instagram and you had like the sports page, like you had soccer stuff on there or something,
Oh,
or like
really?
hockey stuff or something like
Uh-huh.
that with sports. And I was like, oh, is he gonna be like this like sports guy, like parties?
Yeah.
And, like,
I
know,
didn't
like-
I didn't look you up at all.
I don't
was
even
just
have
like-
much on my page anyway.
Yeah,
but
I don't know if I tried, but I was like, I just didn't look it up.
Yeah, I think I remember inviting because I did get to know you through intramural, but I also knew Elliot, I think, a little more at the time.
Yeah.
And like his review of you was like, he's a good roommate, you know. So it's like Jonathan, I was like, yeah, and I think knowing you, I'd be like, yeah, you know, you guys will be fine, you know.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
it was really the love of football that, like, first when you guys met too, when you guys figured out who each other was.
Yeah, that was funny because what happened was it got time to pick our actual room.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember it was one of you two that had the time slot that was the earliest. So I think it
Yeah.
might have been Jared.
Yeah, because
So-
I was room A in like our
Right.
apartment.
So
that
you
was the first
yeah, so
one.
you had the time slot that was the earliest. So we were like, all right, let's meet up at Gracie's and like pick where we want to live, like whatever.
Mhm.
And Caleb's like, oh, I can't make it. I have class or something.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, okay.
Right.
So I go and I never seen this kid Jared, from what I thought. I never seen him. And Jonathan, I only saw once in the back of his car and going to church. So I go to,
He didn't say anything.
so and I didn't hear his voice. So I'm like, oh my gosh. And Caleb's not going to be there. So I'm like, I'm not going to know who these guys are. They're going to be walking around
Awkward.
trying to find me. I'm going to be like, where are they?
Yes.
So I get to Gracie's and I get my food and I go down to like this back level all the way in the back away from the food. And I'm sitting and I'm like, okay, Jared and Jonathan should be here like any minute. So, and then I see you both walking down the side, like you have your food in your hand, backpacks on, walking down the side, and I like glance over. I'm like, wait. And then I look back, and then I look again, and I see Jonathan, because I didn't know who Jared was, and then I saw Jonathan. I'm like, I think that's Jonathan, but I'm like, I don't know if that's him. So then I like look back at my food, and then I look up as you guys like come around the corner, and I'm like, I look over. I'm like, okay, I really think that's Jonathan. So then you guys get closer. And I'm at that point, like right before you sat down, I looked at Jared and I'm like, holy shit. And I'm like, that guy looks so familiar. I'm like, who is he? I'm like, I know who he is. And I was like, I just don't know where I knew him from. Like, did you realize that as you were walking up to me or no?
Yeah, I walked up and I was like, "You're from my year one class."
Yeah, I remember you said, did you just knew instantly?
Yeah, I'm
from-
like, wait a minute, you're in my year one class, right? And I don't know what you said after that.
I think
like,
I was,
oh, yeah.
I think I was like,
But
yeah.
immediately,
I still were like, I don't know where he's
Dude,
from.
we were like, what the heck?
I haven't taken your one yet.
Yeah.
None of that was real.
So I'm like as I was walking down the same thing, I
Yeah.
was like, wait a minute, what the heck? Like,
I already
I
know him.
Like I know. I was like, oh my god, I used to sit next to him in year one class.
That's
Like,
crazy.
no way.
Yeah.
Talk about like small world and like small college.
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Well, it's just crazy because of all the random people, hypothetically, that me and Jonathan could have crossed paths
Right.
with, who then also referenced each of you correspondingly.
Right.
You guys had sat together for weeks and just never spoke to each other.
Yeah.
And what's crazy is I was in the College of what do they call it? College of Arts and Science or whatever.
Yeah,
And you were in engineering.
right.
So if we didn't have that year one class, never would have
Oh
seen
yeah, I
each
would
other
have never
ever.
seen you ever.
Right.
Yeah.
Never would have crossed paths.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
But it's crazy how you just like gravitate towards people that you like have same interests in.
Honestly.
Like we just I don't think it's like we just happened to sit next to each other, but it was because of that Giants hat or supposedly Giants
the
jacket, or
pause
like
there
it's
was
just like
like-
all the things that like sports.
Yeah.
It always had to do with sports though.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you and Jared because of sports. Like
Yep.
me and Jared because of sports. Us two because of
Yeah.
sports.
Yeah.
Yeah. Caleb and I
Crazy.
were movies.
Yeah.
Talk about movies
Yeah, that's
constantly.
true. That's true. Because we all had different things in common, but none of us like fit the stereotype of what we were like. Because I think we all different. We had different levels of love for sports and different sports in general. Because
Right.
John, you were hockey,
Hockey,
soccer. You also,
football.
I mean, you're good at everything.
Let's
Yeah,
just-
exactly. And I didn't
Yeah.
really know John too well, even when we met at Gracie's. But then we watched the Super Bowl together, right?
Yeah, that was the only
Ordered
other
some
time.
pizza.
Yeah.
And then,
Oh, yeah.
we wanted Falcons to win, like I think most of us.
Yeah.
But you're like, dude, what if the Patriots come back? It was like 28.
Oh yeah, it was 28-3, and I remember I offered you guys a bet like $20. I'm like, guys, $20. I bet the Patriots will come back. You're like, and I remember you saying, I think Jared was like, the announcer just said it's never happened before. why would you make that bet?
The analytics.
We
So I'm
should've
like,
known.
I don't know. I'm like, would you take that bet? And you're like, no. The only time you were smart
So-
not to take a bet.
Yeah, so to backtrack a little bit.
Yeah, let's give
so,
context to why we were there, and also why that was the only time we all four of us
Yeah.
hang out. Because
So-
I had been gone.
after that point, after we picked our room, so we ended up getting this place called Global Village. where we each got our own room,
Right.
right?
Shared kitchen, shared living space, but
it was
we had
one
our
of
own
the-
room.
Yeah, and it
4
was
separate rooms with a
Two
living
bathrooms.
space.
Two bathrooms. So
2 bathrooms. It was like
It's a-
it
it
was
was
a
probably the-
brand new
Yeah,
building.
it was brand
too.
new.
We were the
first
first people
ones to
living
live
in
there.
it.
of luxury.
And you didn't want that at first, right?
And oh yeah, I didn't want. I wanted like some other place that was already built, but you could renew the
Yeah.
In
the
hindsight,
lease or whatever.
that would have saved so much trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If
so
we had
with
gone with
global, it's
that,
like one and done. There's,
can't
it's
renew
very
it.
rare that you could get it again. So it was like, all right, we're gonna live up this one time at global,
Yeah.
and this is it.
And boy, did we live
we
it up.
really did though.
Up to the
We
Lord.
really
Yeah.
did. Now the amount of stress we would have saved had we gotten an apartment that we
Oh,
could have
gosh.
renewed.
We
But
would have, yeah.
We
probably.
lived
had
in
no
that room,
idea.
but it was a height of luxury, and we had a lot of fun
Oh,
in that
yeah,
apartment.
so
You
much.
know, that's when dorm debate really
Yeah.
started.
Well,
came to
that's when
fruition.
it started.
Yeah.
So
But-
then we met up for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, so we were all like, oh, I don't know whose idea it was, and we were like, yeah, we should all meet up for the Super Bowl, so we all hang out, like because we had never hung out all
Yeah,
together.
exactly.
Even when
Yeah.
we picked houses, Caleb was.
I
gone.
wasn't there.
we
so
just can't figure out how to all get together,
Yeah.
can we?
So-
yeah, that was the first time and the only time. For whatever reason, we all.
Yeah.
It was in February, the Super Bowl, right? So
Yeah.
we had because in November we picked. Let's say I don't know the details. November we picked the room. I wasn't there because I had class or something,
Right.
and then we didn't interact with each other for a couple months.
Right.
Randomly, somehow, we started. I guess watch the Super Bowl together.
Yeah.
We were all down for that, so we all knew we liked sports.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think it was in your room, in your dorm.
Yeah, my room was the biggest. I had a corner room that was a
Right.
3-bed, but they changed it into a 2. So I had a whole bunch of rooms. So it's like, oh, yeah, you can all come over,
Yeah.
get pizza and whatever. And we watched Super Bowl, and it was the Patriots Falcons. So it was like the best Super
Yeah,
Bowl
that
ever.
was the best.
And
second best.
fun fact, you guys, Jonathan and John played Madden and got the same
Dude.
exact score.
And not only that, but I was the Patriots and he was the Falcons, and he was. Remember, you were winning by a lot, and I came back as the Patriots. It went to overtime, and I won, and it was the exact same score as the Super
It
Bowl.
sounds
I-
like we're
I-
making it
I'm
up.
not even joking, but like
I wish we
I-
took a picture.
we should have. Why didn't we?
there
That was
might
the
be something.
craziest thing that ever
That was
happened.
the thing.
Well, we didn't. We probably didn't because we didn't know that.
Yeah, at
that-
that point it was
we didn't-
28-3. So we're
you
like,
guys, you know, it's a bunch. We first time meeting all of us together. I mean, you guys had met, but you know, what I mean, like first time hanging out.
Mhm.
You guys play Madden and get the same. We should have known the hints for each of one of us, like how we interact with each other.
yeah,
Yo,
'Cause you betting against an impossible statistic and then beating us in Madden, you know, like
yeah, it was not the first time. That was the first of many.
we should have.
actually. First
That
of
was a
many.
warning, you know.
Yeah, a warning.
But
Yeah,
then
yeah.
The fact that the it sounds like we're making it up, but the way the game played out was the same way the Super Bowl played out, which was an impossible, like a comeback win,
crazy.
and it's the same winner, same score, I think.
yeah,
But that was when we had such a good time hanging out. I remember,
yeah.
and that was
But we didn't
yeah.
do it again, right?
That's
We
the weird
didn't
thing in
all-
hindsight.
Like how? Well, I don't know why. Maybe we just were so busy, or there wasn't like a sports event. Because like after
That
the
too.
Super Bowl, other than like March Madness, there
Yeah.
was.
So I do remember I didn't hang out with you after the movie, but I
Yeah.
hung out with John because we started playing basketball.
Yeah.
Mm.
So John and I started going and playing basketball all the time. I think Jonathan, we went and play. I don't know what we did. I think we just went and ate again. We just kept like eating.
I didn't see you other than the Super Bowl. I didn't see you
We-
till
Yeah.
the
We went
next
to Brick
semester.
City Weekend or whatever it was called.
Oh yeah, wait,
Imagine
Imagine
RIT.
RIT.
Okay.
And we walked around there. So John and I
Yeah.
started hanging out more. And then we move it. Then months go by and the summer goes by and we move into Global. So we want to skip to that, I guess.
Yeah.
We'll skip to Global. So we're all living in this house, and it's me, Jonathan on one side, and then John and Caleb's on the other, or Caleb and John are on the other side. So I don't even know where to
Yeah, where
start
do you
with
start?
that.
But
I mean, the first thing
think I was the
basically,
first-
we
I was
didn't
the
really,
first in the apartment. I
we
do
didn't
remember
really
that.
know much about each other. Like
No.
we were. I know Jonathan and I are competitive people.
Yeah, it's yeah.
just in general. But we didn't really like open that side of ourselves yet, because I was like, oh, this guy's a Cowboys fan, okay.
No.
But it just started developing really quickly.
I like how the
Yeah.
standards were like, are they gonna stay up late? We're gonna like party, or are they gonna be? And then we ended up being the cause of each one of us staying up till like 3 in
Yeah.
the morning debating. football.
Jonathan's like, I don't want a guy
Yeah.
that parties, and you're staying up late.
You guys would literally like, it'd be like you would wake up at 5 or 6 to go to work,
Yeah.
and it'd be 3 or 4 in the morning, and then
Playing
y'all
Madden.
about to go to sleep, or the one of you says one more debate point about like,
Yeah,
Like, the
'cause
Cowboys aren't doing
because
this,
when
and
he
then-
says Romo's better than Eli Manning, I can't help myself but argue it.
you'd be like a compulsive behavior, like you're just like you'd emerge from the room, and it's like every step towards it, you go back, and it's,
Yeah.
but it would go for another hour. Like I remember having to physically stop, I got it, guys, I have to stop because
I have
will.
to remove myself from this room.
That's how it was. That's how bad it was.
I remember you saying this, but like Jonathan, you would eat your dinner at like the island, right?
Yeah.
And like I would come out and I'd start talking. Somehow we start talking about sports. And John, I remember you telling me this later on that you'd be like in your room, you'd listen, you'd be like, "Nah, my homework can wait." You just get up and go into the room and start debating.
Yes, I just because I hear you like to sit in that one spot on the island. Jared would always hang out in that room doing homework or whatever. And then,
Yeah.
like, all it would take was for Jared to say one thing, like, "Oh, what'd you think about this?" And Jonathan take his earplugs out and be like, "Oh, I think this." And then I would hear from my room. I'd be like, "Okay." And then he'd be like, "No, Romo's definitely better than Eli." I'm like, "I can't do this anymore. I gotta go argue with him.
I can't hold myself.
I gotta debate him."
Oh, that's how it would go.
Yeah, so I do remember like some of the debates.
We'd
but then the
trickle in once one of us started. It would,
Oh yeah, then it's just
the
pile
doors
into
would
the
start
room.
to open up. People would stop doing the homework and assignments and be like, "What'd you say about the Eagles?"
And I'd make crazy claims
Nick
that would
Foles?
never happen. And then the next week, John question, John, didn't you say the Cowboys would win by like 40 points? I was like, I never said that.
Yeah.
So basically,
So,
we would
yeah.
we would debate all the time, and it would go till 3, 4 a.m. Like legit 3 or 4 a.m.
Yeah.
Just debating back and forth. back
I
and
couldn't
forth.
stop. I
We
mean,
basically realized that Jonathan and John were like the two. Like Jonathan was on this side and John was on the other side with every debate.
yeah, we couldn't agree on anything.
So-
I don't think.
So the first thing was we started doing contracts because.
Yeah.
Because like what Jonathan just said, like he would say something, they'd be like, I
Yeah,
didn't
he'd
say
be like,
that.
"The Cowboys are gonna win by 40," and I'll be like, "Really? You think that?" He's like, "Yeah."
Okay.
And then it would happen, and Jonathan would be like, "I didn't say that." So I'm
Yeah, I
like-
didn't say that
I'm like, "Bro."
exactly.
And
I
then
would've-
me being competitive, I'm like, "Bro, just admit that you said they're gonna win. I don't care. They still won. They just didn't win by 40."
you
He's
guys-
like, "No, I never said
You
that."
guys didn't know that. Like, it's like the first year living with each other. We're already like, let's write it
This is
down.
like the third week.
Yeah,
We're
that's where
"Alright."
that was the first iteration of dorm debate. Was we
It
had
was.
as much as stranger as we were, except for me and Jonathan, really, as stranger as we were, we had this love and competitiveness that came out with football debate. And you would have been more college, but we would talk football. Like, it's like we when you first met each other, living together, you kind of, start to get used to living,
Yeah.
with strangers, but then you kind of start having random conversation. We talk about football, and we would just, it's such a strange thing in hindsight, because I don't think everyone does this, but one of us would get the other going, and then we'd emerge.
And through
and go
those
for
debates,
hours.
we would get more comfortable talk. Like it only
Yeah.
took 3 weeks, and we
Yeah, it
we
was
felt
pretty
like we were
quick.
living together for like years
it was
we were
pretty
like,
quick for, because, yeah.
Because John and I would bond because we'd be like, is Jonathan serious?
yeah, because I'd be like,
Like-
Jared, he really thinks the Cowboys are gonna win by 40. Do you know how hard that's to do? And he's like, I think he's serious. I'm like, really? And then stuff would happen, and then we'd be like. Then we started the contract, and we were like, all right,
Yeah.
so if you really think something's going to happen, write it down and sign it, and then we'll come back
on
to
the
this.
fridge.
Put it on the fridge. And then
was like-
check it off when you make it. So then that started happening. I don't even know where that went, but
Well, then you tie into it the culture of the ping pong balls, the knee hockey, like
Yeah,
how
we-
much
we had a big island, so
Well,
we played ping pong.
yeah, we were competitive about football, and then we played ping pong on the island, and we played knee hockey,
Yep.
and we would play basketball, and we were just, everything we did just was like, and we played
Yeah.
Madden, and everything we
Lots
did
of
was like,
Madden.
oh, I'll beat you in that. And it's like, you're not gonna beat me in that. And then it's like, all right, let's play.
Yeah. There was no backing down.
Yeah.
And we slowly, this is off topic, but slowly realized that John was good at everything.
Yeah, I think he mentioned something like that, right? He's
I
like,
remember you guys bought ping pong. It was actually helped me because I knew I was good at ping pong.
baited them.
You guys are like, oh, we bought this at Target. I'm like, what is that? You're like, ping pong. I'm like,
Acting like you've
I'm
never
like,
heard
yeah.
of
I'm
it.
like, oh, ping pong. I think I played that before.
to
You
this
guys are,
day-
and Jared, you're like, yeah, I'm pretty. Because I remember you playing and you set it up.
Yeah.
You guys played and I'm watching. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna destroy these guys. and then Jared, I think Jared won, and Jonathan gives me his paddle. I'm like, wait,
like,
so I'm like, wait, so how do I hold this? And Jared's like, well, you just like grip it like this, and you could go like forehand or backhand. So the first like 5 points, I'm like this, and I'm like this.
Such a fucking con
I
artist.
think I was watching. I remember watching you because I knew it was not my game, and I was like, whether it was you or you, I was just like, I'm not really gonna play because I'm not good at this. I don't want to get mad, but I would watch you three, and then you started off weak. Like,
Yeah, so I was like this, and I was like hitting it, and Jared's like, all right, I'm
I was
winning.
like, this is about to be a long game. You're on.
Jared's
Yeah.
like, all right, I'm winning. Jared's like, all right, it's 5-0. And then Jared like serves it, and Jared's like knows I can't hit it, So he's like trying to hit it easy, and then all of a sudden I go boom, and I curve it like right around, and Jared's like, "Wait, what was that? That was
like, oh,
that was a
like-
good shot." And I was like, "I think I just got lucky."
Yeah,
And then
I'll try to do that again.
And
or
then
something.
and then he's like, "Oh, it's your serve," and I do like a really fancy serve, and Jared's like, "What the fuck?"
You guys had just met, and then you baited him into playing.
You guys
Fake
wonder
tear.
how he got the deceiver card game. He's literally the deceiver, the main deceiver.
And then it just went to knee hockey. I brought
you
that.
brought knee
I
hockey.
said I was good at that.
Mhm.
Madden, I'm not actually good at because
Yeah,
I don't
I think
play.
I'm better, man.
I think me and
You
Jared
probably
were
are.
more. But
Yeah.
I
you
just get
guys-
lucky sometimes.
me and Jared played video games growing up, so we had more competitive things. Like I remember getting mad at you guys. We were going all over the place.
I remember you getting mad at me. That
Or
one
you got
time.
mad at John because he was playing like realistic and like running the ball and kneeing it, and you're like, dude, just pass a Hail Mary. It's courtesy. It's Madden courtesy.
All right, this is a specific use case scenario. All right,
use case.
this is why I got mad as it. You know, I played Madden.
It was
growing
a
up.
tournament though. Like you challenged
You're
me.
not-
I'm not gonna lose the
This is
game.
when we realized, okay, they want to win.
I was really hurt.
Yeah, Caleb's like, oh shoot, Jonathan,
We're just
and
playing
John
for
just
fun.
want to win.
The use case is you're gonna win the game, but you never if you have experience playing as etiquette, you don't ever kneel the
But if
ball.
I throw a pick six and
no.
you win, do you really deserve to
the
win?
etiquette,
It's
I
not
would,
about winning. It's about
the
having
way
fun.
I was
It's
raised.
Yeah, okay.
I was
It's
raised.
not.
Stop.
Literally, they're just like, oh, we want to beat them down. Oh, I'm up by 14. I'm gonna run the clock out. It's like, who thinks that?
No, it wasn't that bad. You're
No, I
making
just
me
remember-
seem. I was
no.
up by like 3 points with a minute left,
No, it was
and I ran it out.
the courtesy is you have the time on your side, and in a real game you kneel the ball 3 times and then the clock runs out.
Right.
In Madden you can Excel clock, at least the way I was raised, is you can at least what I thought. What I got mad at you for was you kneeled it, and I was like,
At least run it.
I was like, you have
At least
to.
give me
The
a
courtesy is
chance.
to at least run it,
Yeah, at least
and
run
you
it.
could cover the ball.
But
on one.
what if you strip it and return it for a touchdown?
Yeah.
So
Well, that's the point.
I
That's the
deserve to
point.
lose
That's the-
because I didn't kneel.
That's
Yeah,
the courtesy.
yeah.
What?
It's Madden. It's Madden. You know,
It's mad. That's
You
It's
could,
Madden,
You
that's
could
why.
run the safest run play, like run out of bounds.
I'll
30
run
yards.
backwards.
Yeah, that's at least like to give it because a kneel, you're never gonna fumble on a kneel.
Yeah.
You
It's
could
like game
cover the.
over.
This is just etiquette, you know. But
Yeah.
even that, we're still, you know what I mean. So,
Even when I play like in franchise and I'm up like 14.
I could be against
14
random.
nothing,
You don't
yeah.
kneel?
I always like
Yeah,
chuck a Hail
it's more fun
Mary.
to just-
Yeah.
What? Who are you to talk? You did the same thing.
No, I remember Jonathan when you first.
Jonathan, there was one game. Do you remember the
We
game
just
that
ran all the
he
time.
he literally came out in the beginning of the game? He's like, I'm running. You were like the
I
Patriots
don't
or
think you
something.
got the ball the whole first half.
No, I think he started with it and ran the whole first quarter out. He literally ran 3 yards, ran it down 30 seconds. 3 yards, ran it down.
He just, oh my god, he would set
Yeah.
his controller down and just
yeah,
wait.
yeah.
That's because you didn't.
Jonathan would be
Yeah,
like,
all
all right, yep, pick the play.
And this is how much.
That's so
Because this is like
frustrating.
how much you guys would play.
That's like.
Yeah, me
I
and
can't
Jared.
believe that. I
You
go
understood
insane.
though. I was like, all right, Jared understands.
Caleb's like, I can't watch this. I'm
No,
going to
because
bed.
not only that, it shows like, okay, that's realistically how you play, but also because Jonathan, you put the controller
Yeah.
down, or just you would just sit there
Yeah, it's like what?
and you
Not
you-
move, just
You
be
wouldn't
like-
even like fake like trying to like like let me
Not even try to waste time, pretend like you're
Like-
thinking about what you're
like
going to do.
audible here or like looking at scrambling because you can preview the play and not even try that. You would just sit there and watch for. You didn't know
I,
that you
I
could
had
race
time
the,
to get a drink when he, and he wouldn't play
Yeah,
play
like-
because he wanted to run the clock.
like if you want to do that, you can just. There's a way you can do it in the game to just run the
yeah,
clock, shoot clock.
yeah, like
But the fact that that's you just let them you guys would just sit there for 40 seconds, 35 seconds until you hiked it. So that was one way we bonded though.
Right.
Was Madden and all that.
But yeah, but anyway, bringing it back to the contracts is when we would debate so much, and then one day Jared was like at 3 a.m. He's like, you know, we talk a lot. We have like we started the contracts. Like we should like start a podcast. And I remember you saying that, and I was like, what's a podcast, bro? What are you saying? I'm like, what's that? And Jared's like, where you like all like talk like about a topic. I'm like, why would we do that? And you're like, well, so any of the stuff that Jonathan says, like we have on video. So like if Jonathan says something, boom, we just go back to it and show him. You just got this wrong. How do you feel?
Yeah, because
So-
you guys would get into heated to the point that hiding the contracts, like the ping pong winning streak would bleed over into like you
that's
said this about
right.
this, and it was like finally like let's just record what we
Yeah,
say
let's just-
week to week
Yeah.
for us. Like just do it for us because by then
Yeah.
we were just uploading it on your YouTube channel, not the
Yeah,
dedicated
not,
Dorm
not
Debate.
even on Dorm
And
Debate.
nor were we were a podcast that was not on any podcast platform.
Yeah.
It wasn't until a year ago that we started to show up on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. But we did it for us. crack. He did it for us, you know. But yeah, it was just to keep each other accountable to see like, oh, you said this last week and you're wrong or you're right. You know, what a year
Yeah.
to start it though. That was the year the Eagles did pretty well.
There was
Yeah.
so much that happened that year.
It was a good year of football.
Yeah.
I mean, as an Eagles fan, I'm, you know, elated.
Yeah.
And not one thing I remember is, I think the Chiefs were undefeated, right, with Alex Smith at the time.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
And the Cowboys were facing the
Oh my
Chiefs,
god.
right? And you guys were like, oh, the Cowboys are about to lose.
And Dak wasn't as sure. Dak didn't even have. He was still on the rookie contract.
Yeah.
Well, he was good that rookie.
He
year.
was good,
Yeah,
but it was
he-
like for a while they didn't want to give him. This is why we recorded at the time.
Zeke really carried that.
Yeah.
year.
We were debating whether Zeke was like when Zeke didn't play, Dak wouldn't perform.
Right.
Yes, I remember
And
that.
even
had
Jones
I
didn't
had
want
a
to give him a
contract on
contract.
that.
Yeah.
And that was a fun game because I think
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill, as the clock was expiring in the
In the
first half,
first.
he scored a touchdown.
Yeah. That was such a crazy play. I think I ran out of the apartment and
Right,
ran
yeah.
down the hall.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
You guys,
Yeah,
did y'all
us-
form a handshake or something?
us three were. Yeah. I didn't even hate the Cowboys when we first
Oh yeah,
roomed together.
no, I was a Giants fan coming into Global Village, and I didn't hate the Cowboys at all.
no.
And then I met him, and
do-
I was like, wait, what? Is this how every Cowboys fan is? Like thinking that Romo's
Yeah.
better than Eli Manning?
Yeah, it was just the takes. They were just
Yeah,
so
it was just like,
crazy.
what?
And at the time, Jonathan was like, Dak's on track to be better than Brady.
Yeah,
And
you're
that was,
like,
like,
he's
the
gonna
one
be
thing.
better than Brady.
Alright, we're-
I'm like, are you serious, bro? How?
Okay.
You're like, yep, he's on track to be
we're
better.
piling on Jonathan
Sorry,
here.
no, I'm just kind of comparing. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, that's why we wanted the Cowboys to lose, because we were like,
Yeah,
just to see if he will face the fact that he's not.
It's
gonna
just
be
like
Brady.
that competitive nature across all the games went into the real life because we weren't. Well, we were doing fantasy then though.
yeah.
Yeah, that.
Oh yeah, that was the first year we did
We
fantasy.
didn't really,
Also went into
we
it
didn't
because
really
that was my
take,
first year.
we didn't really
No,
take
we-
fantasy seriously. We
I-
weren't like, oh, you just
Not as
beat them.
much.
We were just like, oh, it is.
I do remember it came up, especially towards the end, because it looked like you were gonna win, but then I was like adjusting my lineup down to the hour to keep you on your toes. Like
Uh,
that final
I remember
two,
that. Yeah.
those final 4 weeks, because I was like,
You
know,
won that year.
I did, and the Eagles won, so it was a pretty like I'll lose all the little battles, but I won the big,
Yeah, the important one.
What's funny is that was a 4-man. That was just us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A 4-man league.
That's
Like,
right.
you know how easy that would be.
That's
Hey,
so
well.
easy.
Oh,
we'll have to
man.
buy those fantasy football rings, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, so we were so like, oh, we should start a podcast because we debate so much, and we need like, we need a permanent thing to reference when
Yeah.
people like, so that we can say, you're lying, like
Right.
you said this.
Yeah.
It's just another like,
contracts are
kind of
too formal.
toxic actually.
Yeah, it
now
kind
that
of
I
was.
Think about it.
We got a lot less competitive throughout the years. Like we're competitive about fantasy and stuff, but we don't like call each other out. Like you just got that wrong. We don't.
Yeah,
we
you'd
don't
think-
say. We don't. Care.
You'd think
Yeah,
the better we
yeah.
knew each other, the more open we'd be to offend. And yet, within like a week of meeting each other, we're
Yeah,
like going.
it kind of
real-
was the opposite for
Yeah,
us.
yeah. We still
Yeah.
have disagreements, but now we know like
We're more
okay.
respectful. I
We
think.
yeah, we still have debates, but it's certainly we listen to some of those. We'll talk about the recording setup in your room, right?
Yeah. So yeah, we agree on doing the podcast, and we were like, okay, well, we got to think of like a name. And I remember it was like before one of my classes. I had like an hour left before I had to leave, and John was there, and we're thinking, we're like, oh, what could this name be for this podcast? And we're like thinking, and John was like, what about dorm debate?
Yeah.
Like I don't know.
I
I don't
think
know.
we. Well,
what-
I
I
think
remember.
we were like,
I thought
oh,
it was Jared that came up with it.
no, John.
I
thought
think
it.
we were.
Oh.
I think you said like, oh, dorm. Like we started it in our dorm, and I'm like, oh, I'm like dorm. I'm like dorm debate. I'm like, dude, we debate all the time. That's perfect. And we
Yeah,
started in our
it-
dorm.
It literally took us maybe like 2 minutes
Yeah,
to think
it
of
was like, and right when I said dorm
We
debate, we
knew.
both knew. Boom, that's it. We
Yeah,
don't even
that
have
was
to
it.
brainstorm
It's such a
anything
good.
else.
I mean, I know we're a dorm, but it's like I love the name, and that's for the orange coloring. Is because of our experience at RIT that
Yeah.
the orange, like it's.
is
such
that
a,
how you chose it,
So-
Jared? Because I know you chose the orange, right? When you were
Yeah,
like
so I
creating
chose
the logo.
the original logo. Had orange text, and it was because we went to RIT.
Mhm.
And then this newer one is still the orange text, but it's got the football and it's got the 4 laces. So that's for each one of us.
Uh-huh.
So that's kind of how the logos were kind of started. But beyond that, so we start the first podcast, and we agreed, we're like, we'll do it every Thursday. Right? We'll do it every Thursday. I'm like, okay, well, how are we going to record this? I was like, oh, I have a snowball mic from when I was younger, and I would record gameplay. And I would have like a face cam, and I'd have a little snowball mic. And I would like record myself, like me and my friends would play like FIFA and stuff, and I would record it and post it on YouTube. We'd play like slap FIFA. It's like whoever lost gets slapped in the face.
Dude, yeah.
So So basically, I had the snowball mic. I'm like, I only got one. It's like, okay, well maybe we can, huddle around the one mic. So like, well, where are we gonna record it? I'm like, we'll just record it in the living room. Well, the living room, it was just this giant open area, so it was so echoey.
And there was a lot of echoes in that apartment.
Oh,
It was a
yeah.
new building, but that was the one
Paper
fundamental.
thin walls.
Yeah,
You
paper
could
thin
hear
walls.
because we shared a wall.
Yeah.
And the doors had like an inch gap.
Oh yeah,
So
the
if we were on
door
the
literally had an inch gap underneath.
Like not like I'm
You could hear
talking.
everything.
Yeah, like and I could even make out an entire conversation. So I would leave the apartment to go call family, just so like
Yeah.
it wouldn't bother you guys, but also so like the privacy, because
Yeah.
it was paper thin. But the
Paper
echo was crazy in that big room.
Echo is crazy, so I'm like, oh, I could do it in my room. Like I have posters up, so it kind of does.
That was our logic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like less echoey. I'm like, okay. So Thursday comes around, and I'm like excited. I'm prepping. I'm like, all right. So I got my laptop. It's plugged into the snowball mic. Snowball mics it up. I'm like, John, it still sounds a little echoey. And he's like, well, maybe we can put like a couple pillows. So then we like get like this like, I don't know, U-shaped pillow.
It's like they call it a husband, because like it's a big pillow and it has like armrests kind of on the side. So I brought
Oh,
that
yeah,
from my
yes.
room. Kind of had like a U-shape.
Oh,
So,
like
yeah,
the
I'll
thing
put-
that would be like this.
Yeah,
I'm
it's like
thinking of the
this.
thing that goes around the like.
no,
on
it's like a big
train or
thing that
plane.
you like lean up
No,
against.
Yeah,
big-
it's
a
like
bigger
this that
version.
has like little arms.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
put the microphone in front.
Yeah.
Of it.
Yeah, so we used to have that. It would go down on my desk, and I'll put a picture up, and then we had the snowball mic right in the middle, and then we would huddle around just like this.
Do you have a
table.
Like, if this-
Do you have a
All
picture
huddle
of it?
around.
Like if
I have
this
a
was
picture
the
of it,
Oh
yeah.
my gosh.
Yeah, if this was the snowball, like we'd all like talk into this.
And then
And
when
we'd
the
have
other
to
person was
drag
talking,
it.
you'd be like, and then Jared would be like,
Yeah.
Okay.
The audio is so crap.
I
man.
mean, listen to
so
those. If you've been a fan, we get 8 views like a video, but it was like
Yeah.
that's what we'd do. Is we'd be so intense too. We'd be talking real debate
Yeah.
and like still like
yeah.
just trying to slide it over.
Yeah.
You
You know,
can hear it if you listen. It's like.
like don't touch the desk because it'll like make this move. You know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that's where it started. Humble beginnings compared to the setup we have now. I brought up like how TikTok's gonna be a thing, and people in the class were like laughing, but you understood it. Like I posted the perspective, right? How much things have changed. But I got 80 views, and now considering the how much
That's
we get
actually
now.
pretty good.
Well, it blew me and Jared's mind because I was pulling Jared on. I was like, look, dude, this thing got 80 views, and every dorm debate, even look now from I just scrolled just now, they got 8, 10. So coming from a YouTube background, which we had made videos through junior year,
Yeah.
going
80
into
was
senior
a
year,
lot. You guys
80
were
was a
like-
lot.